We finally have new information on Splatoon Raiders, because Nintendo just dropped a brand new trailer on their Nintendo Today app and on Twitter, once again solidifying what Nate the Hate said. We're not going to be seeing a Nintendo Direct until at least June time. So yeah, get used to these Twitter drops. It's going to happen probably for Fire Emblem like it did for Rhythm Heaven a couple of weeks ago, and then probably even for Star Fox here within the week. So let's talk about Splatoon Raiders though, because there's a lot to unpack. Now, I will be completely honest with you guys. I'll be making a separate video based on my opinions of what I've seen so far, and this just wasn't what I was expecting from the beginning, but it makes sense when you look at what the timeline is here. This seems to be more of a final conclusion to the saga that we've been enjoying with the first 3 Splatoon games, and it looks like it might actually just be that, a conclusion to the Salmon Run arc, which is also why I'm kind of a little let down. I really thought this was going to be something more along the lines of a huge single-player adventure, akin to the single-player adventures from Splatoon 1, 2, and even 3, shoot, even something like Octo Expansion, but it looks like they're saving that stuff for the mainline games still. So maybe Splatoon 4 single-player is going to be absolutely insane, we're just going to have to wait and see, but this is not that. If anything, so far, what I've gotten from this is it looks like it's a mixture of Salmon Run and Splatoon 3's Side Order DLC. We are on the Spiralite Island fighting Salmonid. If anything, for Salmonid to be all the way out here on this random island, it feels like we might even actually be kind of in their home territory, maybe where they come from. But it looks like we'll be going through levels wiping out waves of Salmonid. It looks like a giant salmon run. But let's go through this trailer bit by bit and see what we can find from all the new things and even things we've seen before. Real quick though, before we get started, we are super close to 400,000 subscribers. You guys have been killing it lately, so let's see how many people we can get to subscribe from this video alone. If you really learned something new and excited about Splatoon Raiders, just leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and let's dive into the new trailer. So you play as the pilot slash mechanic that crash lands with Team Deep Cut. It looks like the game will start in a similar way that it always has, where you pick your character and you pick the haircut, and then you're good to go. Now it looks like we'll have makeshift weapons that are crafted in this game to be based off of classic weapons, like the Splattershot Jr. that the Inkling is carrying in this scene. Next we'll see beams of light on the island, which is probably treasures that we can find, but also this weird robo-suit, which we can now see is manned by one of the members of Deep Cut. We'll later see Shiver in the suit, but this time we see Big Man controlling it. He's all squeezed in the cockpit there. Here's a zoom out view of one of the levels. You can see there's a bunch of green goop and some salmonid in it that we'll have to defeat, but if you look closely, you can see we'll also be able to go through the water somehow. You can see paths that lead to other islands and even hoops that are glowing in the water. My bet is that machine that follows you with one of the Deep Cut members can transform into some type of boat or submarine to take you across the water. We now get a look at the salmonid, and they look slightly different. They now have these extruding red backs and necks that look really strange on them, widening their mouths and crazying up their hair, making them look a lot wilder than the ones we fought previously. They also seem to have some type of clothes on this time around, some type of weaved basket for pants. They then spot the Inkling and immediately their eyes turn red and craze as they start chasing after you. We also have a new winged flying salmonid this time around, and it looks absolutely bizarre. It almost has the face and beak of a giant bird as well. And there's also a bigger one that also has a similar black nose or beak in the front. Also, before he bites towards the camera, he seems to emit some type of green toxic gas. Now this color of goop that the salmonid leave behind is different from the one that we're used to. It's more of a darker green, where this time it looks more like a mushy pea color. Next, we can see where the salmonid will spawn from. They have their own almost kettle-like spawn like the Inklings and Octolings do, where they all shoot out of this hatch in the ground. We can also see the return of the Scrapper and Stinger ball salmonid. But your Inkling is not alone. Like I mentioned before, you can have one of the Deep Cut members actually control this thing, and it's pretty much like a little tank that walks around. You can summon it over to splat down on the ground, and then it will also just start firing randomly at salmonid for you. It seems like you can also jump off of its head. If you jump onto it, it'll launch you up into the air, where then you can strike from above, as you can see this Inkling taking out the winged salmon. But you gotta be careful because it looks like they can just knock your robo buddy away. Next, we can see what the map looks like this time around, and there's various different islands. We have Erp Island, which is pretty funny. We we have Taigoru Island, and we have Puos Island. There's definitely probably going to be more deep in the clouds, and the clouds will slowly start to move away once you unlock more islands. But if you look closely at the islands, you can not only see treasures that you can find, but also the type of salmonid from each region. For instance, Erp Island is ran by the flying and brand new big salmonid, Taigoru Island is mostly ran by the normal salmonid, and Puos Island has a bunch of different types in different regions. You have steelheads, scrappers, stingers, and even big shots towards the bottom. Now, I can't tell if this game will be open world in some capacity because it might look like this is selecting a level, but there's nowhere to select this level. For instance, if you look, we're hovering over a piece of treasure on one of the islands that simply just says Puos Island, Tomato Rocks, and Salmonid Level 4. But there's no way to click A to go to the level. It's just zoom, gear, menu, and back. So perhaps in this game, we just go out and explore where we want and what we want, and we just pretty much use the map to find treasures. I think that would be really cool, and maybe there's some secrets and stuff that we can uncover and find on these islands if we just explore. Next up, we get one of our few scenes showing the actual gameplay in the HUD as well. You can see that your Inkling will have 3 lives at the top left, which is similar to the single player campaign. There's something at the top right which looks like crystals. We'll actually see that relatively soon. The bottom left shows some type of egg meter for Shiver, and then we have this level up bar and this giant bar with 109 on it. The picture beside it seems to be the ink tank on the Inkling's back. So is it actually keeping track of how much ink exactly you have in your ink tank this time around? Does it fill back up when you go in the ink like normal? Or do you have to return to base because is it limited? The Inkling also has this weird device that you have to press R to use. I can't even begin to tell you what this thing is supposed to be. It looks like a boot tied to a balloon with a gauge or something. Now this could contradict my theory of this being an open world, maybe, but it's says searching for treasure as if we just jumped into this world. Now we know we'll be able to go back to the base and upgrade our gear like we'll see here soon, so perhaps you can just go back to base and go back to the open world whenever you want. And when you jump back into the open world, it shows you where all the nearby treasure is. It looks like we'll also be able to change the color of our ink. As you can see, the Inkling is now all purplish pink instead of blue. We can also see the Inkling rocking some new gear, so it looks like we'll of course be able to change outfits, and you can see Fry now manning the robot in the back. And of course you'll be able to find and use other weapons. Here's some type of makeshift ink brush. And also you can see all the beams of blue light seem to lead to these crystals that looks like we can collect. At least we had the counter at the top right in that one scene. Also, is it just me or are these salmonid carrying torn off metal can lids as weapons? That's pretty brutal. It also looks like in the mix there's one new salmonid that has some type of hat that's spraying ink everywhere, which reminds me of one of the enemies from the side order. We can also see a bunch of blue crystals on the island to the left. This could just be a bunch of the crystals that we've already been seeing with the blue streaks, but this seems like it could also be something different. And there's also red markings which could indicate another completely different type of treasure. We then see the smoke retract on the map and show us 2 new islands. We have Zaphiz Island and we have Spata Island. There's not too much to look at here. Zaphiz Island really is just full of scrappers, and Spata Island is just full of stingers. But back on Puos Island, you can see tons of treasures that we'll be able to collect. There's 3 chests, and it seems like the Inkling got one blue one, but there's an orange one and a purple one with weird symbols on them. I have no clue what these are, but also you have the giant blue crystal that has a check mark on it as well. Here we get to see 2 more returning salmonid types. We can see the Slammin' Lid and the Fish Stick. You can also see them all gathering around this blue crystal in the center, and it seems like this is what we're after, because in the next scene you can see the giant machine actually digging into the crystal. We will learn later that these are called spiralite shards. But besides the spiralite shards, it looks like we'll get other things as well. You'll get these yellow glass spheres with something on the inside. I just can't make out what the heck it is. You'll also get a salmonid chest, which seems to have a treasure in each one. This one shows that it's the 2-fisted salmonid trophy or idol. And for some reason, this one comes with some sort of perk that says mid-air jump, equipable on all tanks. So it seems like there will be some type of perk or badge system where this one primarily gives you a double jump, it looks like. Now there does appear to be crafting in this game. You can go back to your base to the hideout ship construction, and it looks like you can build weapons or specials through the gadget development. To build this axe weapon, you need 5 scrapper's glass windows and you need 500 spiralite shards. But we can now see how it's applied, and it's that weird weapon that hangs off the side of your ink tank. So it looks like you'll be able to construct and craft different special gadgets that you can use outside of your main weapon, almost like a custom sub-weapon. For instance, with this axe, you have a really long charge up before dashing forward and then swinging the axe. And maybe each sub will have a special effect. It doesn't seem to lose any ink out of your ink gauge though in her back, so it makes me wonder, is this actually what that bar is for at the bottom left? So maybe that way you can't spam this sub over and over and over again, maybe it's like special ink, or maybe it's just something else entirely. It's hard to say. Also, power eggs return of course when you defeat Salmonid. Also in this scene, it looks like the Inkling's holding a new makeshift version of the Sploosh-O-Matic with a giant soap bottle on top. But it looks like you can attach multiple different gadgets. She still has the axe on the right side, but on the left side is this weird telephone or flip phone with an antenna and a little dish sticking out the top. And we can actually see it in action. When the Inkling uses it, you'll see these ink spheres that surround them on the ground and almost work as like a shield for you while also damaging the Salmonid. They also show off another gadget, which seems to be a pot or some sort of kettle. When the Inkling throws this one, it acts as a turret, constantly firing as you're fighting alongside it. We can also see another gadget it looks like on the left side, which seems to be some type of ball. But did you also notice the ink tank is different here? It looks very similar to the Salmon Run Life Preserver circles, but this one is actually a burner, like a stovetop burner sticking out of the center. In fact, this is like the third different type of tank we've seen so far. There's one that's upright vertical like we're used to. It also has a stovetop burner at the top right by the Inkling's neck and head. Hopefully that doesn't turn on. And we have this one that lays horizontal, which also has a burner on the right side. So it looks like you'll be able to change and upgrade your ink tank throughout the game. I also kind of hope this happens in the next Splatoon game, like being able to customize your own ink tank would be pretty cool. Now it looks like when you fling yourself back into the world, you literally fling yourself back into the world. It looks like to leave the hideout and go back to the main world, you just get flung back to it, or at least the tank with one of the members of Deep Cut do, as this crane picks them up and flings them back towards the islands, which is hilarious. We then have a scene of Fry riding her ink eels in the ocean, which who knows, maybe this is how we get from island to island if we want to cross the water, or this could just be a goofy little cutscene. We really don't know yet. Now it looks like you'll be able to mess with your gadgets in Loadout. Once again, you can see two gadgets are equipped here, one for the L trigger and one for the R trigger, at least L1 and R1, where you can tinker with them, reassign them, or unequip them. They also have a blue meter underneath them, which might go back to my theory of it actually running out of ink and you having to fix it back up. You only get a certain amount of uses before you have to repair them. And we know that the axe one is called the Splatchet. Along the bottom, starting at the bottom left, we have the main weapon being a new version of the Splatling gun, we have your two gadgets, and we have relic powers. This is the same thing we saw earlier with the mid-air jump relic that we unlocked from the treasure chest. We already have one equipped here, I just can't tell what it is. Obviously it's just an ink mark, it could be anything. But think of these as just little perks to help your Inkling out. Perks that you would normally have on your clothes, which once again, I hope they tie this into the next Splatoon because I hate being able to only choose gear that are tied to perks. You also have your tank type, once again showing that you'll be able to change your tank design, probably for different things. Maybe the bigger tank, it's heavier and slower, but it has more ink in it, where the smaller one is lighter and quicker, but it has less ink. And you also have your bot buddies, so maybe each member of Deep Cut has a different effect when they're commanding the robot, which is pretty interesting. Lots of customization here. And of course you have your style, which is probably this time primarily just for looks. It looks like the perks will not be tied to the outfits, which once again I really like. And it looks like you can also scan Amiibo for specific outfits, because we know Amiibo are coming. I'll get to that later. In the next menu, we get to see what the Splatchet can do. And the customization goes even further. There's different things that you can add to make this Splatchet the best options for you. For instance, you have splash area up, overpowered attacker, emergency damage up, explosive steps, and even vertical slash. For explosive steps, it states it creates an explosion when charging in. And for vertical slash, it states primary slashes are performed vertically. In general, damage is increased compared to that of horizontal slashes. Now, it looks like that bar wasn't for uses for the weapon, but rather how many slots that you filled with perks for each weapon. For instance, this explosive steps perk is going to be 5 slots, which would probably be 5 of the square ticks above, with a total of 16. For instance, it won't let them place this perk right now because it would be 17 out of the 16 slots, meaning they need one more slot in order to place this one. But besides slots, there also seems to be another tab with this one saying medium, which I don't know what that could mean, because if we look at the vertical slash perk, it says on. What does that mean? Either way, customization looks absolutely insane in this game, and we're going to be crafting a lot of things. Now we have a couple more things to finish off here. First, we just have some hordes of enemies that the Inkling is fighting. Nothing completely new here, but this next one we get a better version of those flying salmonid now that are shooting ink out of their hats, and yeah, they are exactly like the enemies from Side Order. They were called the Drizzling Capricioso. The enemy names were so difficult in that game, so I'm probably butchering that to heck, but yeah, they were just pretty much a water sprinkler, just spreading ink everywhere, being a nuisance. And then they show off the specials, which seems to be based off of your companion, because Big Man lets you jump on top of him and ride his back as he flies around the stage. He'll even have little ink mantas surrounding around him. And Shiver will summon her shark, which looks like a combination of the killer whale and also the reef slider put into one. The shark will just barrel forward, killing everything in its path. And I'm sure Fry will do the same exact thing with her eels that she does in the game, raining them down from the sky like missiles or making them pop out of the ground. And then finally, to end the trailer, we get what seems to be a boss battle against some freaky looking winged salmonid. He seems to be jumping out of the water before diving right back in. So yeah, looks like we will have boss battles in some capacity in this game. And that is Splatoon Raiders. It's coming out July 23rd, and they're labeling it as a single player focused Splatoon game. But they come out right afterwards and say that you can adventure on your own in Splatoon Raiders, but you can also bring up to 3 other players in on the action, near or far. Don't worry about balance or difficulty. Whether you team up with your friends or go alone, it's all evened out. Which is strange, so like, it's not just a single player exclusive mode. So yeah, it looks like you can literally just turn the game into basic salmon run. You go up to this walkie-talkie and you can choose to play online or locally with others. Now you can also buy a new trio of amiibo with Shiver, Big Man, and Fry. Also, apparently the game is only going to be $60 and $50 digital, which is pretty cheap, honestly. But with a price like that, it tells me that the game may not be as big or as expansive as another mainline game from any other series, but who knows? Maybe it will be. It's hard to say right now. But what do you think of Splatoon Raiders? I will have my full thoughts in an upcoming video talking about kind of what I thought this game was going to be to where it is now, kind of what my hopes or worries could still be, but let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day, and I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.